bipartisan support and now heads to the Senate, where it is expected to pass as well. For more on this, we're joined by Staten Island and Brooklyn Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Great to be with you, Congresswoman. You did vote yes for this spending gap measure yesterday. Explain your vote, why you decided to vote yes. Several of your Republican colleagues decided to vote no.
Look, I just think it's a responsible thing to do. We need to keep the government open, particularly at this critical time where we are seeing our major ally at war. We're seeing threats grow here at home. We are also, it's right before the holidays. I mean, to tell our federal employees and military personnel they won't receive paychecks, I don't think there's a big appetite for that. Look, it's important for people to know, though, we are taking up the individual appropriation bills as Republicans want to. We passed 7 out of the 12 already. The Senate has passed 3 of the 12. We simply need more time to do the remaining bills, and then we will have a more responsible budget that will cut wasteful, excessive spending, and that will reflect more conservative priorities that we want to see throughout the country to make sure that we are bringing down inflation, that we are bringing down our debt, and we are no longer dealing with a $1.7 trillion deficit. So we will continue to do our work. It's just, this is a matter of giving us another month to be able to complete our bills, pass them, and then negotiate with the Senate.
But in another month, Congresswoman, let's talk about some of those. Many of you and some of your fellow Republicans want to make some of those spending cuts, and a lot of people disagree with that. So are we going to be in the same boat in a month or so where we were just a couple months ago with Speaker McCarthy?
Look, anything is possible here. As you know, we have a very slim majority in the House. The Senate is also dealing with a very slim Democrat majority. And so when you have those tight majorities, it is tough, but it also requires compromise. And I think that's what some of my colleagues don't get on the Republican side, unfortunately, is that we control 1/3 of the government, right? Democrats still control the Senate and the White House. And therefore, we need to have negotiation. We need to have compromise. We're not going to get everything that we want. One of the biggest things that Republicans are seeking is border security. We have to end the unsustainable flow of individuals coming into our country. The mayor is saying it is destroying New York. We want to see responsible immigration. We want to see more visas so we know who is coming in and out of our country. But what the president has done with this wide open border, it's not just unsustainable, it's very dangerous, okay? We have an ally at war right now in the Middle East. Iran has made threats toward the United States that they would attack us on our own soil in the past. We have to be very mindful of that. And when you have 1.7 million individuals on top of the 6 million that have applied for asylum, 1.7 million individuals who have snuck in. They purposely evaded law enforcement and government officials, and they are in the country. We need to know who they are, where they are, what their intentions are. We need a secure border, and we can achieve both. We can be a welcoming nation, as we are. My parents are immigrants as well. We have a process that needs to be followed, and we can have a secure border as well.
And Congresswoman, since you brought up immigration there, I was going to ask you that later, but I know a lot of your constituents there in Staten Island don't like the idea of opening up these migrant shelters. You also have protested against them as well for various reasons. So what should the mayor be doing for those who are here already? I know you want, tighter border security, the border closed, as you say, but that's not going to happen today, tomorrow, or the next few days. So what should we do with those who are here and the mayor's hands are tied because of legislation, as you know, the right to shelter law?
Look, the mayor has to stop just housing individuals in hotels, in parks, in public spaces. I mean, this has gotten out of control, and the taxpayers just simply cannot afford it. It's costing us billions of dollars. We're seeing him cut across the board now. We just had a press conference the other day about school safety agents that are going to be cut as a result. We see police officers down in our city. Detectives are down. They're unable to solve crimes and put criminals behind bars. We need to have priorities here, and this is just unsustainable. I think if he stops doing that, less people will be coming to New York City. He's literally incentivizing people to come to New York because of all the services that they're providing. He should also be telling Senator Schumer to either pass the House bill, which we passed in May, that would stop this madness, or pass your own bill and let's reconcile the differences and have a reasonable policy about how we can balance both immigration as well as making sure that our borders are secure and this unsustainable flow is not happening. I think we can achieve both, but we need to have a willing partner in Senator Schumer and the Senate to do that.
Congressman, let's talk about redistricting. Once again, a topic of discussion. The State Court of Appeals going to hear new arguments starting today. So if the court ultimately sides with Republicans, the current district boundaries would likely remain in place for the next decade. If they side with Democrats, the redistricting process will start all over again. You are a Republican, so you say leave them as they are now. This has been such a frustrating issue, Congresswoman, regardless of where you stand, right? Because we're here because the Independent Redistricting Commission didn't do its job. So here we are, and this has gone back and forth in the courts. Shouldn't there be a better way at dealing with this? If it ends up in the state legislature like it did, it's always going to be politicized, right?
Yeah, I mean, we should have computer-generated maps that just balance everything and make these districts as competitive as possible. What happened here was the Democrats in the state legislature denied the will of the people who in 2021 said they didn't want political gerrymandering to occur. The maps were then kicked out by the Court of Appeals. Independent special master drew the maps. You couldn't get more fair maps than the ones that we had last year. They should remain that way until 2030. In fact, the law doesn't allow for the maps to be redrawn at this point. And there's many legal issues here. There's literally no legal reason to be changing the maps at this point, other than the Democrats are trying to corrupt the process, to take back the power, to redraw the lines, to try to tilt the scale to win more elections next year. The bottom line is the people have said repeatedly in public referendum that they do not want this. Polling also shows they do not want this. These are independently drawn maps, and they should remain that way. We'll see what happens in court. But look, if they follow the law, the bottom line is the maps will stay as they are.
And Congressman, you saw that rally last night on Staten Island. Several people arrested. You have obviously been very vocal with your support for Israel. These now have been going on a daily basis. Just your reaction to what you saw there last night.
Well, look, it's obviously disturbing when you see individuals who are protesting, attacking our police officers. You mentioned earlier in your report that these individuals came from the Staten Island ferry, so they are not individuals who reside on Staten Island. A lot of these protests are being backed by the Democrat Socialists of America. I think that's important for people to understand. And I think that look, we have to support our ally Israel. We want to see, we do not want to see any civilian deaths, whether they are Israelis, whether they are Palestinians or Americans who are being held hostage there. And we have to differentiate between Hamas and the Palestinian civilians who are also struggling and having difficulties living under the rule of Hamas. And so we want to defeat terrorism. We do not want to see Iran continue to support these terrorist proxies. We are taking a strong stand against Iran and trying to reinstate certain sanctions that the president has lifted to make sure that we are having that maximum pressure so they are economically hurt and unable to continue to fund this terrorism in the region.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you for your time this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.